Good morning. It's a beautiful morning here. I'm feeling peaceful and uh, creative, and people really liked my last video on the state of Bitcoin. Asked for more, and I feel like the time is right to speak up on some of these topics. I kept quiet for a long time because I didn't want to enter into arguments and be dragged publicly or something. Um, and if people wanted to make investments, I thought they might make money, and so why discourage them with a bunch of technical concerns? But I see some of my friends putting their life savings into Bitcoin. Um, and it's not like they put their life savings in 10 years ago, or they put some money in and now it's the bulk of their life savings. People putting huge portion of their income in now, and other friends of mine are encouraging this and talking about it going to. Michael Saylor said 13 million. um, and I'm not here to talk about the price. Um, I got into a discussion last night because someone was responding about, well, what if Michael Saylor got liquidated? If you're not comfortable with a 50% pullback, then you need to look at yourself carefully. And again, it's fixation on the price. What if the price moves? Are you comfortable? And this is just ignoring the elephants in the room. So today I'm going to talk about 4 elephants in the room, and the best is going to be at the end. I will cover some more investment advice, what I would do, and what I think. But I'm going to cover 4 topics: hashing and mining, private keys and cryptography, game theory, and World War III. So let's get started. In my last video, I talked about SHA-256 and how weak it is and how old it is, and uh, that it could be broken in time, or most likely already has been broken. So what is it used for in Bitcoin, and what would happen if SHA-256 was broken? It's used for a number of things, but the most critical is mining and block formation. And if somebody had broken SHA-256, one of the most damaging things they could do is make malicious blocks. And typical use case or attack case for this would be a double spend. And so if you had, let's say, a quantum computer that could do SHA-256 hashes in seconds, quintillions of them, quintillions, you could out-hash any miner on the planet, and you could start to rewrite not just the next block, but previous blocks. You might rewrite the last 3 or 5 blocks, and the millions of transactions that would have happened in those blocks would now be uncertain. And maybe you actually changed a few of them, or maybe you erased all those and just put your one transaction or nothing. So the whole thing would come to a stop, and you could steal money in this way, but more importantly, everyone would immediately lose confidence. And a friend of mine said that he wasn't really worried about this because of, well, it happened before in 2013, and the community came together and we all worked together and resolved it quickly. And I think that's a little naive. In 2013, there was a bug in a software update, and everyone agreed that the software needed to be updated in a certain way, but the update didn't happen smoothly. So everyone agreed on what was to be done, what it should look like, but the actual process of the update had a bug. And so everyone resolved it unanimously, but that's not the environment we're in today, and that's not what we're talking about when we say SHA-256 is broken, right? It's not that, hey, we all wanted to make this update, but we didn't do it right. So let's get it right this time. It's like, holy shit, the fundamentals are gone. What do we do now, right? So I think that would cause absolute panic. I think that easily you could see the price drop more than 50%, 90% more. I don't know. Scenario 2, getting scarier. The Bitcoin uses the SECP 256K1 elliptical curve. It's a mouthful. This is an odd choice. People have been talking about this from the beginning, that this is an odd choice of curves. There's an infinite number of elliptical curves that it could be chosen from. But why did Satoshi choose this curve? And people have also been rumored. There's been rumors since the beginning that the CIA started Bitcoin. And Satoshi is the CIA. So make of that what you will. But this is not necessarily the strongest curve, and it's a very obscure curve. Some people theorized in the beginning that he picked it because it was already broken, that it was actually weak. That's why they picked it. And the CIA is Satoshi conspiracy theory. Regardless, this is another piece of math, of cryptography, that is potentially vulnerable, and to quantum computing, but particularly to quantum computing, but to other advances. And we're in an arms race. Cryptography is always an arms race, and this could also break. And what would that look like if the elliptical curve was broken? People could reverse engineer private keys from public information. So anybody could steal Satoshi's millions of Bitcoin. They could impersonate Satoshi. They could impersonate each other, steal each other's Bitcoins. And that's a scenario where it goes to zero. There's no, if anybody can steal anyone else's coins, there's no use anymore. So that's a really scary scenario. I don't know in particular. Unlike SHA-256, people have not published attacks on this, to my knowledge. So maybe you have faith in it. Certainly, you shouldn't have faith in it for the indefinite future. All this cryptography has a lifespan, and this is getting older. I don't believe that it's broken today, unless it was already broken in the beginning. But I don't think it'll be here in 20 years. I think that's too optimistic. 10 years, maybe not. SHA-256, I think, is broken today or will be broken within 10 years, just to put time spans on these things. Scenario 3, game theory. Okay, let's say that something's broken. How are you going to update it, right? And an addendum to that, are there better cryptos out there now using better cryptography? If the fundamentals, the cryptographic fundamentals of Bitcoin are broken, like SHA-256 or SECP 256K1, if those are broken, it's going to be very hard to update the system, update the network, because the network uses these things for the voting, for the decision making of how it's governed. So it'll be very, very challenging technically to actually implement the game theoretical problem resolution mechanisms. Additionally, I think that the community is co-opted. The technology, the mining, the core infrastructure of the network are co-opted by large institutions, and like we saw with Bitcoin Cash, they're going to implement what is best for them, not what is best for the users, for the peers on the network. We are now second-rate peers, right? Which is what Roger was fighting for with Bitcoin Cash. So I don't think that the game theory will work to fix Bitcoin at this point. Let's look at other coins though. For instance, Cardano uses in my opinion, a better elliptical curve. Cardano uses some better cryptography, but it uses proof of stake, which is inferior game theory, particularly in the environments of institutions coming in and co-opting the infrastructure, making decisions just based on who's got more money. It's like giving up the peers to the institutions from day one. You know, you just admit that we're all second-rate citizens, and oh please, banks and governments and big responsible rich institutions, please come in and make all our decisions for us. So I don't think that there's I'm not aware of a coin that has a ideal mix of game theory and cryptography today. And if there was, the reason I'm not aware of it is because it's most likely not getting any attention, and it's most likely low value and is not getting a lot of resources dedicated to it because they're not getting the investments or the conference time or the attention dollars, which is another game theory problem. I'm sure there are. Actually, I've researched in the past a number of, in my opinion, sound cryptocurrencies for today's standard. But I can't think of any off the bat, and I wouldn't recommend investing in them anyway, because what wins in crypto today is marketing and being in with the big boys, which is not what you want, right? That's not what that's not the promise of this technology. The promise is peer-to-peer networking, resilience against the failure of institutions, right? So, picking who's going to be on the side of the institutions, you might as well just start picking banks and stocks. What's the difference, right? And furthermore, going on to point 4, continuing on point 3, game theory, blending into point 4, this is an arms race. Cryptography is an arms race, and that arms race has heated up. And there's lots of advancements going on in different areas, particularly in quantum computing. It's advancing quicker than I had expected. But the fact that the hardware of quantum computing is advancing quickly is kind of deceptive, because the software that would go with it, the software that runs quantum computers, or that you would use, how you would use a quantum computer to break SHA-256, for instance, or SECP-256-K1, how would you do that? That software isn't very advanced. And similarly, the attack weapons aren't very advanced. But similarly, the defense weapons aren't very advanced. There's a few quantum resistant cryptographic protocols that are, or standards that are proposed, but they're not proven. And one or two theoretical standards is not very reassuring, and we don't really know. They're not battle tested. We don't really know how they're going to stand up. Similarly, for instance, I mentioned Cardano has a better elliptical curve. They use a ED 215, so I can't remember the number, but how will that stand up? I think it's better than SCP-256-K1, but how's that going to stand up to these other advances? It's evolving very quickly. The arm race is heated up, and the old is looking old and is looking ineffective, but the new has not yet emerged. Similarly to what's going on in hard weapons, the U.S.'s and the West's arsenals are looking kind of old. But we don't know yet what the new weapons are. Maybe they have them, but they haven't revealed them. Or maybe they have a number of potential weapons, and we don't know which ones are going to work, and they gotta try them out on the battlefield to see what sticks, right? The same. That's a really good analogy for what's happening in cryptography. We don't know what's next, and we don't know what'll work, right? So it's a very uncertain time in cryptography. Exciting, but uncertain. I wouldn't be investing in a particular curve surviving or something like that, right? This somewhat going into World War III. So now I'm going to go right to the point. World War III is happening. Just a few weeks ago, for instance, someone cut a internet cable, an undersea cable in the Baltic Sea. And I think it was Sweden that lost internet for the day. The train stops, everything. And you can say, well, that's an isolated incident, but it's not. And you can say, well, I live in the middle of Europe or the United States, and we're well connected, or in mainland Asia, and we're well connected, so I'm not going to get cut off. But for instance, I live in Latin America, and there's, I know, 3 cables that serve my country, Panama. And you go further down to, say, Argentina, or Brazil, it's less diverse and more vulnerable. And imagine what would happen to the market if, let's say, Brazil and Argentina got cut off from the internet. That would lose a lot of confidence, right? And that's millions of Bitcoin users who would lose their utility. And those people would probably lose a lot of confidence in the system, rightly so. But even the people in North America and Europe would be like, whoa, oof. They got cut off, right? And it is happening in Europe. Infrastructure is under attack. And I just don't feel confident that the internet is a very complex, very interwoven system. And it requires goodwill and cooperation to keep working. If it comes under attack, it can break down very, very quickly. And I don't have confidence that just Elon Musk and Starlink are going to keep the whole world going, or my whole continent, or something like that. And that's just physical attacks that are indisputable. I'm just talking about hard evidence of hardware attacks. But the attacks are much more devious, much more sophisticated. We also have recent instances of hardware bugging. It's been for a long time, people have intentionally been weakening, putting backdoors into devices, into algorithms, and they're all working hard on their own chip technology, on AI, on quantum computing, to try to break all the other things. If they can't do it secretly through backdoors and through sneaky, putting little bugs on your devices, then they can't cut your cables or something, then they're going to go for a direct frontal attack on your mathematical infrastructure. So I think that the geopolitical environment is very risky for internet investments. And personally, I'm divesting from the internet as an investment space in this environment. Because, and if World War III heats up, then that's going to come down. One of the first things that's going to come down is the internet. At this point, honestly, I would rather buy farmland, other physical infrastructure for your needs, solar panels, water systems, trees, chickens, cows. Cows are a great investment. But I would rather buy gold or silver than most of these internet-based technological investments like cryptocurrencies at this point in time. That's where I see the risk-reward balance being in the world today. So that's my general advice in this situation: is diversify away from the internet. And in particular, even if you're going to invest within the internet space, within the crypto space, definitely diversify. Try to diversify with algorithms, diversify with game theory, diversify with stakeholders, things are very uncertain, and the time for all your eggs in one basket is not today. So that's my more detailed what could happen explanation of the state of Bitcoin and crypto. I hope you enjoyed it.